I feel like putting something out there, but I know that's not going to travel very far. So I'm gonna at least do this for my own memory, my own sake, so I can remember this and I can look back at this and I can kind of use this like a point in my life that I can either look back on or like use as a reference point for like what I'm going to become or like what I turn into. And maybe I'll decide later on that I'm like I did something wrong or I'm going the wrong direction or I'm going in the right direction or whatever. So I'm just going to quickly explain a moment in my life that I think was very interesting, and kind of the feeling of it is just like peeling away into the ether. So I don't quite remember it as well as I did when it first happened, even though I really, really wish I did, and even though I remember a lot of things very clearly. This is one of those things that's kind of just like falling apart in my memory. I'm just kind of losing it. So I don't even remember what month it was. I think it was like sometime the last 6 months, somewhere in there. I Okay, let me be honest with you. I made a couple friends on DeviantArt. We made some stuff together. We collaborated a little bit. I talked. We used to watch each other back and forth on TSU, and then some things kind of just went completely just ape shit, in my opinion. They did some things. I did a lot of research. I was up all night looking into whatever it is they're doing. I talked to my dad about it in the morning. I was really stressed out, and I was convinced that they were going to like fucking hurt themselves. So I need to figure out a way to censor that out at some point. Because I need to be honest about my emotions and like how upset this makes me. And at the same time, like reveal how coarse I am as a person and not like seem like very elitist as like sometimes do because of my level of education and my sophisticated vocabulary. I don't know. I seem kind of like a prude sometimes, I suppose, but I'm not. I'm kind of a very rough around the edges kind of person. So back to my point. I had these two guys that were kind of close friends, and they had spent like 2 hours talking to me really late at night, my school night, and they gave me kind of an idea of like how I kind of view myself incorrectly and how I see myself from like a really bad viewpoint, and how there are like all kinds of different perspectives I could view myself from that just has much legitimacy, even though they don't sound as logical as things that I would reach to out as like a good perspective to view myself from at first. So the possibility like maybe there's something wrong with me, maybe there's something wrong with other people, and that's why they view me the way they do. I don't know. That was an interesting idea because I had not considered it fully at that point. These guys are my age. They're kind of like filling that little niche for like peers that are like my age, like equals. They're males and like around my age, and then we can just like talk back and forth and things like that. But after they did this thing, that I was very, very convinced. There was so much misinformation about what was happening. I was doing all this research, and I couldn't make heads or tails what was going on. But I was pretty confident they were going to hurt themselves, and I was just like, it was like that downward spiral. Like it was like just like an endless road to depression. It seemed like. I got really upset. I was like, I thought these people were like smarter than I am, even though they're on my age. And like they were very sophisticated, and they had all these interesting ideas, and like there's all this wisdom they glimpsed. But they were doing something I thought was really stupid. And now I think back at it, a person's level of wisdom isn't always consistent, and their intelligence is not always consistent either. Like I'm considered very, very smart, but I don't have street smarts or common sense. That's what people used to say. And there are some really, really intelligent, uplifting, positive people who all ended up as part of the Church of Scientology. And then when they get out, they make this huge YouTube channel and they explain all these things inside the system and all these moments where they should know something was going wrong, but they never figured it out because they had become caught up in their intelligence. They were so smart that their ego exploded about how smart they thought themselves were, and they're like, "I'm so smart. There's no way no one could ever fool me because I'm so intelligent." And that level of ego like blinds you. So, okay. So to cut all that out and to get to the point, which I'm so bad at doing these days. they did something retarded. Okay, they did something very, very stupid, and I was like, if these people who I thought were so smart aren't as smart as I thought they were, and they can't think as logically and consistently as I think they could, and they get their information from all these people that give all these red flags left and right that kind of like lessen your credibility. Um, if I can't trust these people to be unbiased or at least be somewhat level-headed, like a little bit more than the average person, um, how can I trust myself? How can I trust anyone? It was just like, I was like, fuck it. Everybody is just going to believe whatever the hell they want to believe. You can show them whatever the hell you want, and they'll never be grounded, and they'll never be corrected. People be like, "Oh, Saddam Hussein's still alive." You show them his dead body. They're like, "Oh, it's his twin brother." Blah 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 blah. So, yeah, it was just this endless spiral of like how people never change and how like they get stuck in these like really incorrect mindsets, and they get like these really really hardcore radicalized viewpoints, like where they hate all Jews or all black people, and like they could be like their lives could be saved by like 1,000 different black people, like one at a time, like over and over and over again, and it'll never change their viewpoint, and people are just like stuck as basically assholes. They're just like stuck that way. There's nothing you can do about it, and then as I kind of realized like how a lot of people can be like really terrible in their ignorance, and by ignorance I mean like they don't know that everything they believe is possibly a lie, because everything I believe could possibly be a lie too, or possibly be false. Like God might not exist, but so far as far as I can tell, I think he or she does. Like I haven't been shown any information that proves God doesn't exist yet, and I've seen some moments I can't quite explain, like scientifically, and so I'm like, I'm pretty confident. Like, I'm confident enough that I can put all my faith into this, because, like, what do I have to lose? Like, I'm not gonna, like, go to hell or anything if I believe in God, or I'm not gonna get hit by a bus. Yeah, there's, like a lot of lack of reflection in people's thoughts. I was going to all that, and then I realized, I look back on my mistakes, and I'm like, holy shit, I fucked up. And I correct myself, okay? And then I might, like, I go for my own writing, like, years ago, and I'm like, these commas are wrong, this character is a little bit flat, they need a little more oomph, things like that. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, I was so mean to that girl, like, at some year in time. I shouldn't have bumped into her and not know she was there. No wonder she was upset with me the rest of the day. I do things like that. And then, maybe I'll hear a news story, I'll get like super angry, and they'll be like, wait a minute, what if the news story was like trying to make me feel this way, but that's not what actually happened. And then I'll sit down, I'll look in the mirror, I stare at my computer, and I'll just like think, I'm like, is this actually a case where like feminism or men's rights or communism or fascism or just some ideology went wrong? And are these actually bad people, or are they just angry people who are just lashing out? Like, and you just think about it, and I just empathize with people, and I just think I try to get it through my head, and I'm like, oh, this is like a situation like neither side is right, or maybe this one side's particularly very very wrong, but there's a reason why their viewpoint exists. It's a reaction to some other problem, like a lot of dictators who kill millions of people, they're beating his children. It doesn't excuse what they've done, but that's where they come from. Like, if we just stop beating our children, then there won't stop being mass murdering Hitlers. So that's the point I'm sort of gonna make, is that there's reflection, and there's empathy, and I looked at all these people I knew who had reflection and empathy. I started naming them off, and I was like, this person, they have reflection and empathy, and they can, like, correct themselves, and they can improve, and they care about my feelings, and they have their flaws, but those flaws are kind of adorable, or likable, or badass, or whatever. I just start naming these things off, and that was enlightenment. That was like the closest I've ever gotten in a long while to like getting to the almost the very top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Like I was fed, I was clothed, I felt some degree of love and or friendship, acknowledgement of my skills, and I climbed all the way up there on my own from the very bottom, from like feeling complete worthless crap, climbed all the way up there, and I was like, I am special because I can reflect and I can realize that I am wrong. I can argue against myself. I can look in the mirror and say, I can debate with myself. I do all the time. I'm like, what do I think about global warming? No, global warming doesn't exist. Oh, it does. Look at all this proof. Back and forth. And then at one point, either one part of me runs out of things to argue about, and the other side wins, or both sides come to an impasse, and I have no opinion on the subject. Like, there's so much information I process, and if it conflicts with one another, then I can't reach an opinion. That's what I'm trying to say with this overly long video that I might have to cut into multiple pieces. Have a nice day, and hopefully things don't completely fall apart for you. Or you don't feel like they are, even when they're not. I wish absolutely the best for you, whoever the hell you are.